All phobias are irrational, but the one I suffered from throughout my entire childhood and young adulthood took the biscuit. You're scared of rabbits? People always scoffed. The polite ones tried to look understanding, but I could see suppressed laughter in their eyes. I know how ridiculous it sounds, but those big-eared fluffballs everyone else seems to find so adorable really creeped me out. I stayed well clear of pet shops, and the run-up to Easter was as scary as Halloween must be for people scared of witches. I can pinpoint the day it started, too. You see, for many years, I was convinced the Easter Bunny ate my best friend. It was Easter Sunday, 1996. I was 8. My family lived in a small traditional village where nothing much happened. Before that day, it had probably never been in the national news at all. Every year, Mr. Anderson, the old man who lived in the manor house, opened up his grounds for the local kids to have an Easter egg hunt. I went along with my best friend since nursery, Emily. We had the sort of intense friendship that could only form in childhood. When we met new people, we'd tell them we were sisters, and everyone believed us at first. Our parents took us to the hunt. That year was particularly well attended, and by the time we arrived, just 10 minutes after the event started, most of the obvious places had been raided already. The grounds were huge, with several acres covered with trees. Our parents kept calmly reminding us to stay close, where they could see us, but they seemed pretty engrossed in their own conversations. They didn't tell us off when we strayed slightly, so we decided to go a bit deeper into the trees and find some eggs that had been left behind by other kids. It was a good choice, at least as far as the egg hunt went. We found several small, brightly coloured chocolate eggs hidden behind the trees and underneath piles of leaves, and added them to our haul in the tiny baskets we'd been given. "Look," Emily said excitedly, pointing up a tree. "There's a massive one up there." She was right. Above us, nestled on a higher branch, was an egg larger than the others. It even included a mug. "I'll go for it," I said, feeling proud of the look of relief that filled my friend's face. I'd always been the better climber and, I fancied, the braver one. If the truth be known, I think I just wanted to look cool in front of her. With difficulty, and a disregard for safety that makes me cringe in hindsight, I slowly ascended the tree, reaching out for the egg with one hand and just grasping it. I climbed back down, giddy with victory, and found myself alone. At first, I thought Emily was playing a trick on me. But after searching behind every tree around there, and calling her name a couple of times to no avail, I started to get scared. I ran back to my parents, fully expecting to see her there. "Emily's gone," I told my mother. I can still remember the look of concern on her face before she composed herself. "I'm sure she's gone to the toilet or something, love. What were you doing in those trees anyway?" The rest of the afternoon is a bit of a blur to me, but I do remember the creeping sense of dread as the minutes ticked by. I remember all the adults running around, shouting Emily's name. I remember the police arriving, and being slightly scared as they asked me when and where I last saw my friend. I remember Emily's parents sobbing and hugging one another. This last image will stay with me until the day I die. It was nearly dark by the time we left, and I was crying. My father held me close and whispered, "It's fine, darling. She'll be back soon. She's just gone on an adventure with the Easter Bunny." I recall my mother snapping something in his ear about giving her false hope, but I chose to believe him. The alternative was too terrifying. My family kept me sheltered from most of what followed, but I've pieced it together by looking up old news clippings and TV reports now that I'm an adult. Emily's disappearance was a national story for a few days, but as the weeks and months went by, with no body found and no new leads, she slipped out of the public's consciousness. Logically, I understood that Easter, and specifically a fictional egg-delivering bunny, had nothing to do with Emily's kidnapping, but the emotional part of my brain couldn't fathom that, and the two remained linked. Despite the bereavement therapy my parents got for me, I had nightmares about the Easter Bunny coming for me and my loved ones for years. I even get them now occasionally. I never had or wanted an Easter egg after that. Years went by, and I would love to say that I moved on. To some extent, I had to. But at school I was an oddity, a curiosity because of my connection to a semi-famous tragedy. I found it hard to make friends. Even into adulthood, I never quite trusted that my pals would stay around, that they wouldn't be taken from me at the shortest notice. It made relationships hard, to say the least. I tried to bury myself in academics and later work. I was on my lunch hour at the office one day last year when my mother rang. I answered, always a bit nervous when she rang me at work. Had something happened to a family member? I wanted to catch you before the news broke. They've found Emily's body at the manor house. I swallowed, tears stinging my eyes. Oh. That's not all, darling. Mr. Anderson died last week. I hadn't heard, but I made a noise in the affirmative. They found her inside his house. When they were clearing out his things. She was in his cellar, and sweetie, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it wasn't a little girl's body they found. She only died about a year ago, they suspect. They found her shackled to a wall. The sick bastard had been keeping her there all along. I dropped my phone and burst into long suppressed tears. I'm not scared of rabbits anymore, but I'm more terrified of humans than ever. Why I Hate Easter. Written by Summer Isle Apples. Narrated by Puka.